It's Wednesday, September 12th. Good afternoon. I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching online at onespotmedia.com. Amid the mounting complaints about roadworks and detour issues in the corporate area, Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Daryl Vaz, says the government is looking at strategies to minimize the disruption being experienced due to these projects. Motorists, residents and business operators have been complaining about the management of the road projects, which they say have resulted in lengthy delays, dust nuisance and loss of profit. Now the complaints have heightened since the traffic restrictions implemented in the 3 miles area of St. Andrew.
As a government, there has to be better communication, there has to be better signage, there has to be better alternative routes, and of course we have to make sure that we maintain the security on those routes. We are fully aware that there still are shortcomings, but I can assure you that we are working tirelessly to alleviate the problems.
Mr. Vaz was speaking at a post-cabinet press briefing held this morning. As Tropical Storm Isaac moves closer to the Caribbean, the National Works Agency, NWA, says it's preparing for the possible effects of the storm on road projects this weekend. NWA Communications Manager Stephen Shaw says his organization is ready for any storm that may affect the island.
We are prepared to a certain extent because outside of this $100 million that we would have been using, in addition to that which we used before, we have over 250 projects that have either been completed recently or still on the ground outside of the big ones.
Yeah, because
and a big part of those projects is drainage improvement, cleaning, replacing,
because
and so on.
Currently, there are a number of road improvement works in the corporate area. Mr. Shaw said the contractors have been briefed on what to do if the island experiences heavy rainfall.
What is going to happen too is that where these works are taking place, those contractors have been rolled into the operational plan, the response team.
He says additional funds are also being made available to the NWA as part of the storm preparation measures.
Yesterday, we had an emergency meeting at the NWA where the CEO called in all the personnel from around the island. So we met and we discussed that very likelihood. And so we are prepared. Just on Monday, the cabinet signed off on us getting an additional $100 million to carry out mitigation.
Mr. Shaw was speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program this morning. Stricter penalties are needed for motorcyclists in the western end of the island. That's according to Director of the Road Safety Unit, Kenute Hare. Mr. Hare says even though several initiatives have been put in place to get motorcyclists to adhere to the Road Traffic Act, they are not being followed.
We need to have a serious road safety enforcement operation down in that section of the country that is going to let motorcyclists know that we are serious about the helmet wearing down there.
The Road Safety Director says the police and other traffic authorities need to continually push at the motorcyclists in St. Elizabeth, Hanover and Westmoreland. He says without that push, the motorcyclists will continue to be lawless on the nation's roads.
Right? Because they're pushing back at us, you know. They're pushing back at us. So we're going to push back at them, right? And to get them to critically understand that whilst they can go to a shop and buy a leg and a tie and a breast and a wing, they cannot go to the shop and buy a head or a brain because the shop don't sell it.
Data from the Road Safety Unit's latest traffic crash update revealed that motorcyclists accounted for 23% of deaths on the nation's roads so far this year. The St. Catherine Municipal Corporation is on a drive to remove the signage of companies who are delinquent in paying for advertising in that parish. TVJ News caught up with one of their teams in Old Harbour where a number of signs were being removed by the municipal police. Compliance Officer at the Municipal Corporation, William Malaver, told TVJ News that the removal of the signs is a last resort. He says adequate notices were sent to the companies for monies owed to be paid over to the corporation.
All of these signs that we are removing were due on the 1st of April 2018. And then you have some that we weren't able to catch last year. We are hoping to catch them this year.
Could a legal battle be looming between two government bodies because of health issues? That seems to be the view of the Health Ministry in relation to air quality issues caused by recent fires at the Riverton City dump. TVJ's O'Shane Masters has the details.
Following the release of the air quality report by the National Environment and Planning Agency NEPA yesterday, the Health Ministry has indicated that it could initiate legal proceedings against the National Solid Waste Management Authority NSWMA based on the findings of the air quality report. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said the decision will be made following its analysis of the report. NEPA's study was conducted during and after the Riverton City Disposal Facility fire, which blanketed the corporate area with smoke for several days in July. Among other things, it concluded that the fire from the Riverton Disposal Facility resulted in deteriorated air quality that affected southern St. Andrew and Kingston, as well as sections of southeastern St. Catherine. It also found that elevated levels of certain gases and particulate matter could have resulted in possible health impacts. Dr. Tufton reacted to the report yesterday while speaking on RGR's Beyond the Headlines.
The ministry does have the responsibility and some authority under the Public Health Act to take assertive action where health quality is compromised. What we will do now, well, we will examine the report. We will determine if the pollution that are cited in the report continues, because if it is the case that it exists now, we can be as extreme as serving notice and essentially prosecuting, which has happened in the past, the operating agency. Now, it would be a government agency to a government agency, but we have a responsibility to the greater public health and wellness.
Dr. Tufton outlined what further activity could stem from the contents of the NEPA report.
Beyond that, perhaps more desirably, it would be to pull all the agencies or be a part of the discussion among the respective agencies, including the operating agency, to see how we can dialogue to address the obvious concerns that takes place when we have these fires.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Only 17 days remaining to the eviction of vendors from the Constant Spring Market in St. Andrew, and to date, no word from the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, on a suggestion which was made. The suggestion to be relocated near the market. Attorney for the vendors, Bert Samuel, says yesterday he again wrote to the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation seeking answers on why there hasn't been a response to their proposal. Earlier this month, the KSAMC said it would hold meetings internally and with state agencies before replying to the proposal. Mr. Samuel says the vendors have become more agitated over the lack of urgency to their request.
We have not heard from the KCAC, and our clients have instructed us to reach out another time by letter dated the 11th of September for them to come to the table to have discussions. However, we were also instructed that if by Friday of this week we did not receive any indication that there is a willingness to speak, then we would not be able to tell the vendors to wait any longer before they will, as it were, take the matter to another level in another place.
The vendors have been notified that they will be evicted on September 30. The building will be demolished to facilitate the expansion of Constant Spring Road. Former parliamentarian, the late Easton Xavier Douglas, will be accorded an official funeral. Mr. Douglas passed away at his St. Andrew home on Sunday, August 26, following a long battle with cancer. The announcement was made at a post-cabinet press briefing held this morning.
Cabinet took note of the following facts in coming to this decision: that former Minister Douglas, being a member of Parliament for South East St. Andrew from the period 1989 to 2002, when he retired, that his service in public life included as Minister of Health and Public Service, Minister of Housing, Land and Environment, Permanent Secretary in the Ministries of National Security, Defense and Construction, and as a government town planner.
Mr. Douglas was conferred with the Order of Jamaica in October 2013. And time now for a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
Next edition of the Health Report, we look at asthma.
Certainly prevalence has increased worldwide, generally speaking. We have to be a little careful in that the younger ones will end up with sometimes have episodes of wheezing and shortness of breath, which don't necessarily go on to them being fully asthmatic. So sometimes there's a little bit of a reluctance to put a label of asthma on a child, even though they may have wheezed, had 1 or 2 episodes, even required nebulization. But generally speaking across the board, yes, asthma prevalence has increased worldwide.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Here are some ways in which you can manage asthma. Take medicines as prescribed by your medical doctor. Identify and avoid triggers. And make sure your child gets a yearly flu vaccine.
And we go on to sports. The Jamaica Tallawahs fight for a record 3rd Caribbean Premier League title continues today at Providence. Here is TVJ's Spencer Darlington with a preview.
The Tallawahs, who qualified for the playoffs in 3rd spot, will battle Chris Gayle and the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots for a place in the semi-final. The two teams have met twice this season, with the Tallawahs winning the first encounter at Sabina Park. However, the Patriots turned to the table at Warner Park in a rain-affected contest. Gayle, who led the Tallawahs to their 2 titles to date, is well aware of the threat the Jamaica franchise poses.
I have to be satisfied with with where we're at this point in time, to be honest with you. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but like I said, it's a fresh start for these 4 teams, and the team with the momentum is always going to have a slight edge going into Trinidad as well. I know we're playing 3rd and 4th, so one of us have to leave. Unfortunately, I'll be playing against Jamaica, but such is life.
Tallawahs captain Andre Russell is no stranger to big occasions, and his first CPL Central in 2016 came when the Tallawahs needed it most. But this time, there's the added pressure of captaincy.
First year as a captain as well, that's an achievement for me as well. There's 6 good teams in the tournament, and it's down to the best 4. So I really appreciate the love so far. I'm looking forward to an exciting game on Wednesday against St. Kitts. It's not going to be easy from now. Every game is a final, so.
Both teams have gone through changes since the last time they played, with South African spinner Tabriz Shams joining the Patriots, while the Tallawahs have added New Zealand leg spinner Ish Sodi. Both are expected to figure significantly on a Providence track that is expected to once again favor the spinners. Match time on Wednesday is 5 p.m. Jamaica time.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.